Justin, Robert, we're back for another Horological Happy Hour. Thank you for joining us. This week we're going to do our third and, we're hoping, maybe, third and final installment.
I think this is it. I think this is the long-anticipated finale of the watch brand tier list.
We've covered a lot of ground, but somehow there's still so many more brands that we haven't touched on. So if you guys aren't familiar with what we've been doing, production team, you guys want to go quickly to the laptop so that we can show what we have already in place. So what we've done over the past 2 weeks, we have been discussing the brands that you see listed here, and we're ranking them. Again, totally subjective. This is not the official stance of European Watch Company. This is Justin and Robert's personal feelings about things.
And if you spoke to our colleagues, they would have different opinions.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Albert, Joshua, Tony, all of them would have different ideas about where to put these brands. I think some things like Patek would always be a yes for the shop, just because it's a big part of what we do.
That's not really a hot take.
Yeah,
Rob,
exactly. But there are some others that I think there would be some movement here and there, and I'm sure you guys have your own thoughts on this as well, which we are interested in hearing. So if you have disagreements, if you have agreements, please do throw them in the chat. I always reserve the right to change my mind. I can be convinced. I can be bought and sold
several times.
Yeah.
So just to run through before we jump into it, running through some of the topics that you guys can see on the screen, or sorry, the categories. So starting at the bottom, we went bottom of the barrel, Fossil, Orient. Moving on up to entry level, great watch, great brand, but not for me. Solid buy at the right price. Brands that are on what we consider to be on the upswing. Brands that are just, yes, like Rolex, Patek, Longa, Above that, Holy Grails, and then my top choice, Robert's top choice. You can see I've chosen Cartier, Rob's chosen Panerai. I reserve the right to put more brands there. Robert, probably the same.
If you have missed any of where we were placing these and debating them, the first 2 episodes are on the YouTube channel and they are on the Instagram Reels. So you can go back and watch those in case you're curious as to why any of these ended up in the places that they did.
Yep.
And for those of you watching on Instagram, I do recommend popping over to YouTube. We have a little bit higher quality, we have a wider angle, and it's just a different viewing experience that you may like better.
So today we tried to grab what we consider to be the remaining brands that we haven't talked about, and we have a pretty good selection here.
Why don't we hit the top down quickly?
Give us the top down, and just to give you guys a quick overview of what we're potentially going to talk about, on the table we've got Hublots, we've got Romain Gaultiers, we have got a Greubel Forsey, we've got Zeniths, we've got Breitlings, we've got Laurent Ferrier, Czapek, Ulysse Nardin, Parmigiani, Blancpain, Gronefeld, IWC, Richard Mille, and I think that's everything. So we, once again, have far too many brands to talk about. We're going to try and run through. We're going to try and talk about as much as we possibly can. Again, in the chat, let us know what you guys think. We love to hear when we're wrong, when you agree with us, when you can pit the two of us against each other. So keep the comments coming. We love it. I'm going to be trying to monitor over here. The guys behind the camera are also going to be watching on YouTube and cluing us in when people have interesting things to say. So, Robert, where are we going to start?
So we've had a lot of requests from you guys to talk about Hublot. And they are a brand that is worth talking about, I think, within the spectrum of the watch world, because it's,
it's an interesting story.
It's an interesting story, and we're talking about a very old industry, right? If you talk about making of timepieces in general, you're talking well over 200 plus years of history and legacy and all of that baggage that goes along with that. And you get a brand like Hublot that comes in, 30 years ago? 30 years ago, I guess, because there are Hublots from the 90s and stuff. And you're wrong. About what? We didn't even say anything yet.
Keep going, keep
going.
We
didn't get anywhere yet.
Yeah, exactly. He's not wrong.
Sorry, still working on that cough.
Yeah. I'm still making sure that we're still having a happy hour here. Rob's got his tall cup of tea there.
It's rooibos tea.
Cheers. I will still cheers you with my scotch, but hopefully you guys are enjoying something nice as well. Yes. we might actually have a celebrity rant. I don't know. Actually, scratch that. Not a celebrity. We might have a rant from someone off camera.
Guest rant?
We'll let you go. A guest rant. Thank you. Yes, exactly. All right. Anyways, back to Hublot.
Okay. So
Mike, go ahead.
Hublot comes in to this 200-year-old industry with no legacy, no history, no anything, basically. It's like, hey, we're going to set up shop. Here we are. We're doing this. And I think similar to Journe, similar to Lange, they actually did a really good job of coming out with something that was unique and had a design language that was very much their own.
Yeah.
Which is not easy. I'm going to make the hands pretty and we'll go here. This is a pretty typical Hublot. I think this is a Big Bang or a Fusion. This is a Fusion, I think. You can go to the wrist cam here. So we've got a Fusion chronograph. There are obviously some parallels to some other sport watches, you know, in terms of like we've got some screws on the bezel. Am I in focus? There we are.
Perfect.
Hello.
Nailed
Thank you,
it.
camera. So we've got screws on the bezel. We've got the integrated lugs with some screws there as well. A lot of these on a strap. You don't see many Hublots on a bracelet. And they have built this brand through advertising and endorsements.
Well, I mean, you can't talk about Hublot without talking about the personality behind the brand, I think.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Is like they've built it, you know, in a similar way to how Richard Mille has built a brand, but I think that there is a big distinction there between Hublot and Richard Mille. Although their stories are similar, right? The stories are very similar. Oh, and they're talking about the Tom Brady AP. We can't escape it.
But so what I was setting you up for there, Rob, with talking about the personality behind Hublot, however you want to say it, Hublot, JC Vivek. Like,
yes,
this is a guy who at this point in in his career he's kind of a larger than life character in the Swiss watchmaking world. You know, he's been around. He has, you know, a reputation for kind of, I mean, you could say rejuvenating brands, you know, bringing brands back from kind of like the brink of death, or in this case, establishing a brand. You know what I mean? And there's so much of his DNA in these designs, even 30 years on.
And I think Hublot was like one of those early brands where they started doing something like this. This watch is actually sold currently, so you won't find it on the website. But this is it's a tourbillon with a fully skeletonized movement, including the skull down there over the tourbillon. Very subtle. But they were one of the first brands who really started taking some risks, moving into this space and, you know, doing some stuff that really was not your typical Swiss watch experience.
Right.
And even though none of the watches are my cup of tea, I feel like you have to give them credit for what they did and what they built.
Sure. I don't disagree with you. I think, like you said, they came in, they established their own design language. They did something that was totally different than really anything that anyone else was doing at that point in time.
Yeah.
Looking at the designs, you know, from the early 90s, there's a clear, you know, you can see clear influences.
Continuity as well.
But I'm saying across the industry, you know, other watches, say the Zenith Defy lines, you know, there are plenty of hints of, you know, what Hublot did in the early 90s that trickled down or influenced a lot of other brands because they were very popular, you know, at the time. They still are to a degree. All of these nice things being said, where do you rank Hublot?
Let's put the table up on the screen so I can see it. There we are.
I mean, I am incredibly torn here. I don't think there is a category that accurately describes my feelings for Hublot. There's no category that says, like, kudos for doing something.
Well, there's great
different.
watch, but not for me.
Are you comfortable calling that a great watch?
I think there's a lot of stuff out there that's worse.
Okay.
How's that for being diplomatic? So,
so
to me, the
diplomatic.
biggest difference between, but also, so the biggest difference between Richard Mille and Hublot, even though they built the brands in a very similar kind of way through like the cult of personality,
biggest difference, quality,
through
engineering, materials.
It's to me, it's the difference where Richard Mille, there's an awful lot of very high-end watchmaking in even the most basic models.
Yeah.
You know, whereas in Hublot, they took more of a traditional approach where maybe they used 7750s, maybe they used ETAs, but they also weren't asking, you know, $100,000 for an entry-level
Hublot. The way that I see
so,
Hublot, and it's the main difference, in my opinion, like you're saying, between Hublot and Richard Mille. Richard Mille is obviously committed to engineering, you know, excellence in engineering, pushing the envelope when it comes to materials and in actual, you know, horological design. Hublot relied. They were a brand that was built using marketing dollars.
Yeah.
It was not a brand that was built using engineering, using anything that we appreciate and we normally value and want in our companies. Craig's shaking his head. I don't care. He's wrong. The brand is one, in my opinion, and I could be totally whatever. You could totally disagree with me. If you love Hublot, cool, good for you. But Hublot for me is one step above a fashion brand, and it's more serious than a fashion, obviously, than you know Gucci or a Fossil or whatever. It's more serious,
but it's not a Jacob & Co.
Correct. It's not. Right. You're right. Yes.
Right. It's not. Which that's also a weird kind of place there because there is some very high-end watchmaking, but it's very much.
Not Jacob & Co.
But no, I'm just saying in terms of contrasting like where it sits within that hierarchy. Because Jacob & Co. A lot of people look at that as a fashion watch. You look at that 5 time zone thing.
Yeah.
That's a fashion watch.
I don't.
Right. It's a very high-end.
We're
fashion
using
watch,
that term in two different ways, but I agree. Yes. There's different tiers, I would say, of a fashion watch. So for me personally, I think Hublot is a fashion watch.
It's like the difference between buying like $1,000 T-shirt because it's Supreme versus a $1,000 suit, right? You can spend the same amount of money. They're both like it's a similar thing. They do the same thing, but the person who buys that Supreme T-shirt is not the same person who's going to spend $1,000 on a suit.
I think the other part of this that we're not covering at all, and we do need to move on because we have so much to talk about. But the other thing that we're not talking about is these watches are not available at like a crazy disc like. These aren't, you know, $2,000. They're not Tudor pricing. Like,
well, somebody mentioned though the Hublot MDM, and those are cool watches with kind of a neat, kind of retro-ish vibe. The straps are a bit of a pain in the neck, but I agree they are kind of cool, and they're like, you know, that not for sale thing. I think that was a Hodinky.
That was
one,
a Hodinky
right?
special
that
edition.
was actually
that was cool.
I liked it.
Yeah, me too. But
I wouldn't have spent the money on it, but I liked it.
Of course not. But again, that has an interesting a backstory.
Right.
That has heritage.
I think you're with me. I think you're with me. What about people of the internet? Where would you put Hublot?
While I'm putting this up on the screen, we're going to allow a very brief rant from a guest. Mr. Karger, would you like to come onto camera, please, so you're not just speaking from the depths?
I think
over
if you get close enough, you'll get mic'd up.
Okay.
Get in between the two.
Yeah. Come sit on Rob's lap real quick.
Okay. So.
Producer Craig, go ahead.
Hublot is not my favorite brand, but I think they get a bad rep in the industry and among collectors because of a few people that kind of went on anti-Hublot rants. But as someone on YouTube said, they were the first brand to do rubber straps with gold cases. They were the first to do a lot of like colored ceramics and sapphires and sapphire bracelets. They've actually been very, very innovative. And yes, some of their watches are $10,000 and have an ETA movement, but you have IWCs with ETA movements that are in that price range. So I think, and if you look at things like the MP10, you know, if MB&F made that watch that took 8 years of research and development, people would think it's an amazing watch, but since Hublot made it, it's the ugliest, worst thing that's ever been made. And I think that's, you know, people need to form their own opinions, not just go what certain YouTubers say.
Hey.
Not you. There's another YouTuber.
All right, time's up.
So I do have to give a little weight to what Craig says because Craig has actually had the ability to handle some of this stuff, you know, where we've only been looking at pictures because these aren't watches that you see that come around.
Sure.
So I think he makes a valid point.
Okay,
I'm still not buying one, but I think I am comfortable.
There you go. Hublot equals bottom of the barrel.
Bottom of the barrel. And yeah, Craig touched on that.
All right. we're going to leave Hublot behind where it belongs.
Anybody on Instagram have thoughts?
Let's, not yet. Nothing huge yet.
Did we really not do AP? I thought we did.
I know,
AP.
I can't believe we didn't do AP, but we did not. So
holy cow. Should we do that quickly? We don't have any here, but let's...
Sure.
Where does AP go?
Wait. Let Adam go grab a couple good APs.
Okay.
We'll talk about something in the meantime. Okay, let's see. We should talk about IWC next, I think.
I like IWC.
Okay, that's an easy transition. Robert, why don't you grab these two? These are two opposite ends of the spectrum from the brand. Show off.
I want that black one too.
This is a great watch too.
That's the direction I would go with IWC, because I think with IWC, we don't have a Portuguese here, but the two biggest are like the Pilots and the Portuguese.
Right. But that Audemars is great.
This is so good, and IWC did a good job, like
literally close-up cam,
bringing this back from the dead. The Audemars had like lost its way. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, decades ago.
And they've just brought back the Audemars. They've gone back to the original Genta design, because this was the third watch Genta designed. Everybody thinks it's the Vacheron, and it's not. We're going to do Blancpain, geezer. Don't worry. Blancpain is on the set list for today. This is a stunner. This is a stunner. The price is right.
We've seen this in a few different variants now. Obviously, you know, we've seen both the black, the white, and the teal. I wish we had the teal, because it's...
We just got the titanium, too.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I haven't seen that yet.
We just did a deal on the titanium.
Awesome.
And it's... I would still go for the steel, but it's super duper nice.
I agree. Honestly, I like all variants. All three of the steel variants are really nice. They're really comfortable. They've slimmed down the case significantly. The bracelet is like the right
billion
dimensions.
Times better. It's nice and thin this way.
It's interesting that IWC waited as long as they did, or it took them as long as it did for them to kind of rejuvenate the Audemars line, because
There's the checkerboard.
It kind of languished for a while there, where the texture is in person. You can actually see it really well on camera, but in person it pops. It's so cool when that catches the light. Really, really awesome design. And like Rob said, this is a Genta design.
I would buy this watch. I would spend my actual money on this watch. I actually like the silver dial the best.
Do you?
But I think they nailed it. So that was great. This, I one day will own a Pilot Chrono, because it's one of those watches. When I first started getting into watches, the Pilot Chrono caught my eye from the word go. Again, kind of like my Panerai story. Before I knew anything about brands and heritage and all of that stuff, I was like, that Pilot Chrono is sweet. I love the ceramic. I love the split with the little airplane on the split hand. I would wear this watch. I love this thing. I think it's fantastic. It's nostalgia, and it's modern, and it's wonderful. I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's great. And they do it well. This, to me, is a fridge too far.
A fridge too far.
There's nothing worse than a fridge too far, man, especially when you're hungry.
Well, I mean, this is also the size of a fridge. So.
You can't see it too much in the camera. It actually, the case is well designed, and because it's ceramic, it's kind of lightweight.
It's super lightweight.
This is the Mojave.
Even for you know, you have a wrist on the larger side, and those lugs are over.
Why? Thank you.
those lugs are overhanging. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, I've always wanted an old school regular big Pilot, but I put it on and it just doesn't. It's not comfortable for me at that size. I can wear the Panerai. But
for me, you know, it's kind of all right. So that's actually the comparison where I was going was the.
You can bring us back.
We'll just put those over here for right now. The IWC is very much like Panerai for me, where I love the design language. But it doesn't translate into like real world usability for me, and it just doesn't work on my wrist. You know, a Mark 18 or something, great, but I'm not going to spend my money on that. I'd rather have, you know, even just a Datejust or something.
So Akil Lamba, isn't the Audemars overpriced? I don't think so. Because if you look at similar offerings, if you look at like the GP Laureato, I'm trying to think of what else even exists in that segment, because like the Czapeks are more expensive. What else do you get where you get maybe not something that is so like in-house and special, but still really good and solid? Like I think IWC nailed it with that. So I actually think the price point in terms of the modern watch market is fine.
I was going to say, it's definitely all relative, because the prices in general, MSRPs, have gone bananas over the past couple of years. And you know, we've talked about it before. Brands like Longa, AP, you know, they've really pushed it to the upper limit of what is palatable for most buyers at this point, and they've made it, you know, obviously the market has played a big role in this, but they've gotten to a point with their MSRPs where if you buy one, you're almost automatically taking a 30% hit when you walk out the door, if you were to turn around and sell that watch. So, you know, relative to that and what other brands are doing, I think IWC is much less offensive. You know, they're still very attainable. They're very reasonable.
But I mean, like,
everything is expensive. But
so I think this is very close to the same price that JLC now wants for a monoface manual wind reverso.
Yeah.
And you know, I am a reverso fan, hardcore. You know, forever and ever, amen. But if I've got 10K ish and I'm looking to buy a new watch, I would actually go here over a reverso.
Those are like 8, aren't they?
Which these?
Yeah.
No, I thought they were 10. 11.7,
okay,
yeah.
Sorry.
So it's like $1,000 more than a monoface manual wind reverso, and I mean, I think you get more watch here.
Agreed. Totally. I mean, Wineset Wear says the GP Laureato is definitely overpriced, and I totally agree with you. That is, yeah.
I would buy this. I would buy this over the GP. I would buy this over the Parmigiani. I would buy this over the Czapek.
Agreed. I'm
like
fully
anything
with you.
that's kind of in this entry level thing. Like obviously not comparing it to AP and Patek. It's unfair. Well, I don't know what the Aquaman thing was. What was the Aquaman thing?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Aquaman
I don't
thing.
pay attention to stuff like that because it doesn't really sway me one way or the other. Like I don't really care that much.
Me
but
neither.
Mojave is a dull one. It's a very muted color scheme.
We've had a few others. We had the Evergreen, the all green one. That was actually quite good. We had what is the white one?
The Lake Tahoe.
Lake
I
Tahoe.
think it's kind of cool in the smaller one. The big one was kind of like, whoa,
Agreed,
that's a lot. But I think it's kind of cool.
I mean, I've always loved just you know the kind of the OG Top Gun black. Big Pilot Perpetual. Like I remember seeing
I would wear this watch.
Adam Craniotis on Instagram, you know, posting that like 10 years ago and being like, holy crap, that is. It was before I was even in the industry and being like, that is cool.
It's cool. It's really cool.
Unfortunately, I just don't have the wrist real estate to wear it. But okay, so 22 minutes into our chat,
We've
and
done
we're
2 brands.
in. Where are we putting IWC?
Moving faster.
Roberto.
Yeah, it's your turn to go first. I went first.
So I'm going to
think
go
we're
ahead and
gonna
say
agree.
that IWC is a solid buy at the right price.
100%.
Right?
I knew it.
You really can't go wrong. It's quality.
And I bet you
it's
everybody out there
accessible.
agrees with us, right?
Right.
People of YouTube and Instagram.
At
It's gotta
secondary
go there.
market prices. All right, so let me. I just want to
Even
look.
in retails. The retails
True.
are crazy.
True. All right, so we had a few comments. I just want to make sure I see real quick.
Good, because I turned my phone off. I'm relying on you.
All right, so somebody wants to talk about Ulysse. We'll get there. Watch Medicine says that Czapek is better than IWC, specifically the Ingenieur. Better movement, which is nice, and it has changeable straps. And you're right, but you're paying for that.
Yes.
That's at a different price point. That's at more than a 2x price point, actually, usually, isn't it?
Let's bang out Czapek.
Yeah, let's do it.
While we're doing it. Then we'll head over to AP. So,
and Wineset Wear agrees with us.
Keep going with IWC thoughts if you want.
Yep.
So Czapek's a brand we just started carrying, and they're very new within the space.
Yep.
And when they originally came out, yay.
People agree with us. What do you know?
Eric Walkoff agrees. Brendan Cunningham agrees. Thank you, folks. And thank you for your input. We really enjoy chatting with you all.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason we do this, is to engage with the collector community. So like those of you who can be here live and who want to participate, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
So we just started carrying Czapek. And I feel like the first things they did, I can't remember what those watches are called. The ones that aren't Antarctiques at the beginning. Oh, we haven't had one yet.
Yeah.
But they...
So this, I think we should give a little bit of the backstory behind why we, you know, so like Rob said, we just started stocking Czapeks, and we really waited until the insane buzz and the insane hype around all indie brands, not just Czapek, really died down, because
let the dust settle.
There was a time, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, where these were trading and selling for insane premiums. Like, people want, the Antarctic splits, the Rattrapants,
Remind me what this is called? Cosmic Dial? Celestial?
Cosmic Dial, yeah.
I love this, by the way.
gorgeous.
I really like this.
But so at the time, 18 months, 2 years ago, we were very unsure because it's such a new brand, and because of things that were going on in the market, you know, we just didn't really know how to value these, because for them to come out of the gate and to be trading for crazy, crazy prices, like we didn't have, not to say we didn't have confidence in the brand or in the watches that they were making. We just didn't necessarily have confidence as a retailer thinking we can buy these and then justify selling them for those prices. So now that the crazy price hype around just independents in general, and now specifically Czapek, has really kind of died down, it's kind of fun to be able to stock these and sell these, because they are interesting watches. They do some really interesting things, you know, with their interchangeable bracelets.
And as the gentleman said, like, the movements are really good.
I was just going to say, their movements, and you should show off again on that Cosmic dial that micro rotor movement with those
I think it's
really,
the same in this
is
guy,
it the
yeah.
same? Yeah, there you go. With those really nice bridges, really nice finishing work in there. So, you know, it's at the prices that we are now able to list them at. These are great watches.
I can't do it. I don't have the dexterity. I was going to pop the bracelet off quickly, but I'm not so dexterous. The salmon dial one with the honeycomb is very cool. It reminds me of like vintage Omegas and vintage Rolex with that dial, which is super
the ice blue
slick.
one with that is really nice. This one is wild though.
I would wear this. I would absolutely wear this.
Is there anything special about this dial, or is it
I
literally
believe
just
it's
like a
limited.
finish? I know it is limited, yeah. They're all
25.
Almost all of them are very limited.
Genuinely limited. I don't know about the construction of this one because I haven't looked into that yet, but I'd wear this. I love it. I love the colors.
Agreed.
I love the thing.
And so Wineset Ware said, you know, that he loves the bracelets. So there was a lot of back and forth at the beginning with Czapek. I think it's actually they did something distinctive. You know what I mean? Where that kind of that polished C. I like it. It speaks to the brand. Yada yada yada.
It's subtle though. It's not
subtle.
like it's not too heavy-handed.
There was a lot of griping about the fit and finish, where you know the gaps were too large. You know, they were a little bit you know, funky, Tesla-esque with their panel gaps. But I think they've really tightened it up. And I don't know. Like I said, at this price point now, I think they're very interesting and compelling watches.
And that's where I'm putting them.
Yeah, great, solid buy at the right price again, right? All right, I want to see if anybody else.
I think it's good. I think it's good.
All right, yeah, no one there said anything, but let us know what you guys think about Czapek. How do you feel about them? How do you think about them long term? Honestly, you know, do you think they will continue to be, you know, to offer like compelling, interesting pieces? Do you think they'll sustain this momentum that they kind of built up over the past 2 years? Let us know what you think.
So somebody in the YouTube stream, I think it was Geezer, said Blancpain.
Yeah, we got to go there.
And we have to go to Blancpain because it is our illustrious leader's favorite watch.
It is. So
Albert wears a Blancpain.
Albert Ganji, founder and owner of EWC, long-time Blancpain aficionado. He has some of the...
We have a modern one, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Somewhere.
There it is.
He has some of the most interesting Blancpains I've ever seen. He has prototypes. He has not one, but two that are serial number 1. Tourbillons. Le Mans Tourbillons. Serial number 1 that he wears regularly. That's like one of his everyday watches. And this is a guy who has an extensive Patek collection of some of the most impressive vintage and modern Patek references you know, you'll see anywhere. And he regularly chooses to put on a Le Mans Tourbillon. You know what I mean? And it's an incredible piece.
That is the Albert watch.
It is the Albert watch. It is his signature piece.
Why? Loose Tooth says
What?
Czapek equals meh.
That's fine.
Defend your argument, sir. I'm curious. So Blancpain, we didn't grab any dress pieces right now, but we have a couple of their sport watches here. A lot of times when you mention Blancpain, people immediately go here to the 50 Fathoms, and rightfully so.
Yep.
We've talked about the heritage on this show before. We've talked about, you know, another one of those hallmark dive watches from the 50s that really set the standard for dive watches.
I mean, you have the dive watch right there.
We happen to have one here, so you can contrast what they were doing back then.
So this is the Blancpain Aqualung, also known as the Jacques Cousteau, because he was, you know, known to wear, and it was photoed and video, shot wearing these on you know, some of his many of his dives.
Not a lot of these still exist.
Right.
Most of them went in the water. Most of them either were decommissioned military and destroyed, or probably got water in them at some point and destroyed. But amazing pieces of history, very cool. Lots of radium, Bakelite bezel.
Yeah.
It's killer watches. I mean, like, this was a purpose-built tool watch. Guys relied on this to save their lives.
They're so cool. I mean, the sandblasted case, like, just
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many little details, especially in this Aqualung, that became just like signatures for dive watches.
Yeah.
Period. You know what I mean? Just really, really incredible pieces.
And then the modern iteration, this is the 45 millimeter, so this is the big one, which, you know, if you talk to actual divers, we have a client who is a very avid diver, and he has said that, like, really 40 millimeters doesn't actually work. In the Rolex it works, but past that, most other brands, like those 40 mil Blancpains, you don't get the legibility that you want when you're underwater.
Okay,
so
well,
that's why they did it this way.
So speaking of, you know, our client who is a, you know, very serious diver, I believe he's actually traveling on a dive trip right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is a watch that I don't think it's the exact one, but it's called the Blancpain Gombessa, and this client bought one of these from us and actually wore it on a number of, like, very serious dives. And, you know, used it along with a dive computer, because you'd be crazy at this point in 2024 to rely on a mechanical timepiece as your dive watch. But, you know, it's interesting, even more so than Rolex, with, you know, say the Deep Sea Challenge, or pieces that are made almost more as, like, marketing. I mean, again, not to take anything away from them, but they're more engineering exercises and marketing stunts, you know, PR stunts, as opposed to something like this that you probably didn't even know existed before we showed it to you on camera, or, you know, like the Project X.
X Fathom.
Sorry,
that's even bigger than this. This is actually, like, you could totally rock this. This is more comfortable than a big Pilot.
But so what I'm saying is, Blancpain is still committed to making actual tool dive watches.
Look at that
like
dial. It's so inky black.
In the tradition of, say, like a Comex, or, you know, something like, you know, a 60s or 70s Rolex diver, you know, a Deep Sea, that were made specifically for commercial divers. Like, yes, these watches are expensive. You know, they're pieces of, you know, high horology, but at the core, they're really designed for, like, professional divers who are going to use these pieces as they're intended. So it's really interesting.
Lot of love for the Barracuda, and then we've got the Hodinkee mil-spec there, which I'm totally...
We agree, 100%. I mean, a 40 mil, the 40 mil and smaller 50 fathoms are where it's at.
The 42s are good. The new 42s are really good.
They're good.
They're
But
really good.
but honestly, the 40, the 38, you know, those are just like perfection.
38's too small in my opinion.
Nah, they're perfect. But I'm trying to see. Brendan Cunningham bringing the Jethro Tull jokes. I like it.
Let me get my flute.
So Wineset Ware says that the 42 is perfect. Fine, agree with Robert. That's fine.
Yeah, no, it is. It's really good.
But they're...
So also in the dress watch category, they make some really stunning stuff. They make some really high-end complications. They make some incredible, that tourbillon carousel thing. We've never seen one, but, like, it's mind-blowing.
Yep.
They are a brand that does not get their just desserts, in my opinion. Fantastic watchmaking from top to bottom.
You know what's interesting, too, is that, so we've said this many times, is that, you know, they don't get the attention they deserve. They should be such a, you know, a bigger player on the you know, the horological stage. And I really thought that when Blancpain partnered with Swatch to come out with the Scuba, I thought that was going to get more. It was going to get more attention
to the brand.
It was going to bring more people to the brand. It was going to be more exciting. David's playing Mario Brothers over there, and I don't know. I haven't seen that happen. Like, I haven't. First of all, I haven't seen anyone on the... I've seen so many people wearing moon swatches.
That's a good point. We see them when we're walking down Newbury Street.
I have never seen anyone in the wild wearing a Scuba. I don't know. It's really interesting.
Okay, we're at the halfway point.
Damn.
We got to tier it.
Okay.
Give us the tiers.
Oh,
I know where I'm putting it.
Watch Medicine says the Blancpain Day-Day Desert is amazing.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That one's an excellent piece. That's is such a cool look. All right, so you know where you're putting it. I know where I am too. Where are you putting? I honestly think we're going to agree again.
So Boston Watch Collector says, has Rolex Yachtmaster and Submariner really killed the Blancpain market? I would say no, because the Rolex has always had more commercial success than Blancpain.
Yeah.
So Rolex can't kill a market that wasn't there. No offense to Blancpain, but they never had the reach that Rolex did. They also don't advertise the way Rolex does. No. They don't endorse the way Rolex does. It's a very different company, a very different mindset.
Yeah.
I think, for me, if you put a brand new Rolex sub on the table and you put a brand new 42 millimeters 50 fathoms on the table, I'm taking the Blancpain all day long.
So am I.
Yes, tier.
Agreed. 100%.
Yes.
That's exactly where I'm putting it as well.
Yes. More people should like it.
Yep.
They need to do a little bit more with their Villeray collection, in my opinion. If I'm going to rip on them a touch, I feel like a lot of their dress watches, they're kind of phoning it in a little bit.
Well, and to that point, so Wineset Ware says Blancpain as a brand continues to step in it, and with a lot of unforced errors. And I don't know if I would say errors, but I totally agree with you that they have done nothing to help their cause. Like I said, I really thought the Scuba was them thinking differently and really pushing forward, and unfortunately that hasn't translated. Like Robert said, the Villeray collection is totally under...
And the Le Mans are gone. The Le Mans were if you can find a 2185 chrono, in nice condition, buy that watch.
I think I've actually, on this show, I've talked about, I had a Le Mans, sorry, not a Le Mans Tourbillon, I wish I did. I had a Le Mans chrono in...
You wouldn't have sold it.
No, I wouldn't have. I had a Le Mans chrono in titanium that I absolutely loved. Unfortunately, mine may have been a lemon. It was always broken. I owned it for, I think, a year, and I had it serviced twice in that time period, and then I traded it for something else. But I love that watch. It was unique. No one knew what it was. It was titanium, which for a brand like Blancpain and a dress chronograph, who's doing that? So love the brand. Super interesting.
Boston Collector just said YouTube Live, much better video than Instagram. So those of you on Instagram, if you want the higher quality, the wider angle, come join us on YouTube. Because we don't have to do the vertical and everything, we can have a little bit better bandwidth there.
All right, so let's move on to AP.
I was about to say, let's talk about your favorite brand that only makes one watch.
That's not my favorite brand. Get out of here. Just because I own one doesn't mean it's my favorite brand. I do love AP. It pains me that the brand does... One watch is wrong now. The code 1159 does exist,
and it's fantastic.
It is fantastic.
Again, if you have watched this show, you know that I have love for the code 1159.
It is easy to say that AP only makes one watch, and get out of here. Yeah, I wonder who copied who here. Go to the close-up. Go to the close-up. So yes, AP relies very heavily on the Royal Oak. Because of course they do. Yeah. Why wouldn't you? Yeah. And I own a Royal Oak. I own a neo vintage, smaller diameter Royal Oak that I absolutely love. It's a incredible piece, ultra thin, uber comfortable. The bracelet is perfect. The case is perfect, and I was thinking, I don't know who I was talking about this with the other day, but we were, again, kind of like the age-old conversation talking about the Royal Oak versus the Nautilus. And for me personally, obviously I chose a Royal Oak, but if I was presented with, the option for either a 15202 or now a 16202 and a 5711, I'm taking the AP every single time. It's it's a more interesting design for me. There's I don't know, there's just something special about the combination of different textures, in the finishes, the shape of the case, I love how angular it is. I don't know, there's something so special about these watches. This one is incredible. 16202 BA with that kind of smoked, kind of ombre dial. This is a monster piece. Such a cool watch. I love AP. I really do. I do wish that they would do some more.
So I actually think they have done more, and I said that because I wanted to rib you a little bit.
And I wish we had a better. This is not to say that this is not a good example of the Code 1159 collection. This is a great watch, but we've had a few recently. We had the I I think it's steel chrono with the green guilloche
the
dial.
I mean, I would take any of the gold time onlys. I prefer them to the chrono.
We just bought the new Code 1159 Star Wheel that's not here yet. That watch is incredible. It's interesting that, you know, this line that they introduced a few years ago that was like, you know, famously maligned, you know, is really coming into its own now. They're building out this line. They're doing interesting things. They're adding a bunch of, you know, good complications to it. I think it's very true to the brand and kind of the heritage of the brand. When you look at that mid case, you have that octagonal kind of mid case that mimics the Royal Oak, but then it has these crazy sculptural lugs, you know, and then it has that,
which don't actually connect to the bottom case, which is very cool.
My God,
There's
it's
like
so scary, actually.
Kind of line there where you can see it. They're beautifully finished.
You got that crazy,
full-size in-house movement.
crystal, you know, that double convex crystal. It's a really, really interesting piece. And again, people hated on it when it came out. I think a lot of that kind of hangover from that initial release is wearing off now, and I think people are coming around to these because they're such great watches.
I want one.
I would love that green guilloche dial was absurd. That was such a pretty watch, and I'm really excited to see the Star Wheel. So
elephant in the room. We got a lot of comments.
Yeah, we got a lot of comments on Instagram too.
So
go ahead
elephant
over
in the room. Tom Brady and the AP with his name plastered on it like it's some kind of football jersey for the wrist.
That is terrible. I agree. So I've seen I believe it's white gold salmon dial tourbillon with the Arabic numerals, the
Eastern
Arabic numerals. That actually looks gorgeous.
Yep.
But when you put Tom Brady on the
in
dial,
baguettes and stuff, I mean,
garbage.
I get why they did it.
Of course.
It is what it is. He's never going to sell it. It doesn't matter.
No.
One day it'll auction off and it'll go to charity and somebody will put it in their case and it'll be incredible.
Right.
So it is what it is. Does any normal person want that? No, of course not. But they didn't make it for a normal person, so it doesn't matter. Geezer says Nautilus all day long.
That's fine.
Yeah, okay. Oh, David, go back up. You guys, we can't keep up today. It's amazing.
This is great.
AP makes the most number of beautiful watches across their offerings in number and design than any other brand by a mile.
All right, so I want to talk about this real quickly. So I actually 100% agree with you. I do wish that AP would branch out and do more. They killed off the Jules Audemars line, which I wish...
Yeah, but they brought in the code.
I know. But so what I often give other brands crap for is losing focus and not doing what is like at the core of their brand identity. AP has really... they're very focused. Mm-hmm. They have a very tight lineup of major categories that they then build out in like amazing ways.
And
which
I want to
really
say, somebody mentioned
actually.
The concepts. The concept is a different watch,
but
it is not a Royal Oak. It is not an offshore. It is a third category. It is its own thing.
The concept is a Richard Mille with AP on the dial, essentially. Yeah. Those are, if you've never handled one, they are, yes, you're right, they're huge, they're hard to wear. They are amazing pieces. They're absolutely incredible.
I would tolerate the size of that watch to wear it, especially the most recent one we had, that one we had on the white strap.
Yes.
I would tolerate the size to wear it because I think...
That was the Tourbillon GMT, wasn't it?
The design is so cutting edge. The case is funky. The movement has an awful lot of super high-end watchmaking in it. I would wear that watch.
I mean, it's a Renault and Poppy movement. Like, it's
I
incredible.
love like the John Merrick tour photos where you see him like playing on stage wearing that concept.
100%.
I'm into it.
100%.
Like I said, that celebrity thing doesn't influence me too much,
me
but I
neither.
see that and I'm like, that's cool. That's badass.
So hold on, let's see.
Also, this is a hot take while you're reading that.
Okay, go ahead.
Code 1159 will pass regular Royal Oaks in desirability in the next 5 years. That is a spicy take.
That is a spicy take. I like it.
The higher level Royal Oaks, like Jumbo, Perpetuals, Open Works, will be top, but next will be Code. So they're talking about like Open Work and the Perpetuals. We had a customer in with the ceramic Perpetual today, the black ceramic Perpetual. One of the nicest APs I've ever handled.
So and I was going to say that the open worked Tourbillon Code 1159 that came out, I want to say, was it last year at Watches and Wonders?
Yep.
Or AP doesn't display, but around the same time. Insane
That Star
watch.
Wheel 1159, I think, is going to be a watch that like woulda, shoulda, coulda on that. Like, people need to buy that now because they're not going to make a lot of those.
So Allied Group asked about the offshore. Well, how do we feel about the offshore and the AP lineup?
I've always loved them, especially the original Beast. But just like the Big Pilot, I put on my wrist and I feel out of place with that watch.
Agreed, and it's just like wearing a Deep Sea or something along those lines. That the design is amazing, it serves a purpose. It's just crazy big and doesn't work for me. But honestly, the new offshore divers that they've been doing the past few years, those are great. They're
super nice.
They're a
very
much
reasonable price point.
A much more manageable size, a really nice price point. Watch Medicine says AP is like Krispy Kreme. They're known for their one product which is popular, even though they offer other stuff. Yeah, you're right. But also, does Krispy Kreme have anything other than a glazed donut?
But you know what though? AP,
that might be the point.
AP, it's not like a brand like Zenith, where you have your hits, but then you have all this stuff. And Tudor, you ever been on the Tudor website? They make hundreds of watches I didn't even know about, like those date things and the date justy-ish things. And like, they make a lot of stuff that like we never see here at this store, and I don't think anybody buys it. And it's like, why not just do what you do? And AP does that. AP is tight. They're aligned with who they are and their strategy, and I think that's why they're a good brand.
I will say, I wish AP would let up on their collectors a little bit, be a little bit nicer to the people that are buying your watches. They're a little bit crazy in that regard.
They're intense.
If we're just talking about the brand itself, I know where I'm putting this. Robert, where are you going?
I want to know where you're going to put it.
I went first on Blancpain.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought
you can't defer to me every time. It's okay.
All right. I won't defer.
Come on, step up to the plate.
AP is upswing.
No, AP
on
is
the upswing.
What?
AP is on the upswing because I feel like in recent
they never
years.
Went down.
Oh yeah, they did.
When?
Yeah, they did.
When?
There are many APs. So, and we may even still have a Jules Audemars tourbillon chronograph that is like below 50 off retail right now.
Yeah.
I don't know why people don't want that watch, but nobody wants that watch. This crazy Jules Audemars chronometer, I don't even know the full name of this one, but this thing is nuts.
But so Robert,
it's sitting on our website at a deep discount.
Even from this era of AP, and even within the Jules Audemars line, you have like the Stade Chrono. You have pieces like this. We have the piece that what we call it, the Turbolinga Ding Dong or whatever. It was a tourbillon minute repeater chronograph, like insane.
The
piece.
old school Sonneries, these watches are incredible.
The 3448, so the old school, tiny 36 millimeter perpetual that they did. Like, I don't think that, like, they're not on the upswing. I think they were never down. They've always been up.
If I look at the brand currently, where they exist within the current market, I feel like they are on the upswing. They were one of those brands pre-pandemic, everything was discounted. Now...
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. Absolutely everything from AP was at a discount.
The 15202 was not at a discount.
It was a $20K watch.
Oh my
all
God.
Day long.
Also, we're talking about right now. We're not talking about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So you're saying the brand is still on the upswing?
I do. I think they're still stepping in it too.
You know what?
Can I say Spider-Man? Can I say Black Panther?
You know what though? I would never buy one, even though one of my really good clients bought one. And I told him it was a great deal. It's actually, he's a huge AP collector, and I think it totally made sense for his collection. I think they're kind of dumb, but like, they're cool that they're doing stupid stuff. Like,
they're taking the risk.
Exactly. What other brand is doing crazy stuff like that?
So go ahead, put it where you want to put it.
No, you know what? No. I'm gonna, because Robert and I disagree. You, the people of the internet, tell us what you think. We'll take your opinions into consideration, and then we'll probably disregard them, and I'll put it where I want anyways. But
I hate the offshore music. Sorry, I was a musician before I did this, and I consider that watch the one with the equalizer, the studio equalizer on the dial.
I don't hate it.
It feels like pandering to me. I don't know. And I love John Mayer. I think he's a brilliant musician. He's a great guitar player. He's an amazing songwriter. Yeah. He's like the only kind of modern guitar hero right now that's like in that public eye, because there's lots of guys who play the guitar like nobody's business, but he's on the main stage in a way that a lot of people aren't. But I did not like that offshore music. Sorry.
All right, we're gonna leave it. We're gonna leave it off right now.
Quantium is a deep cut, and those are I remember we had one of those for like
excellent.
$6,000 when I first started here, and I was like, should have bought it.
They're great watches. I mean, if we're gonna go deep cuts, what about the QP Tuscan dial that we had? That
was expensive though at that point.
It wasn't that expensive. I wish. So I actually seriously considered doing a big trade to get that watch, and now one's going to Sotheby's, and I feel like it's gonna sell for a ton of money. I'm gonna regret it, but oh well. Okay, we have 10 minutes left,
and we didn't even get through half.
Let's.
Let's do Greubel Forsey before it leaves.
We should talk about. We can quickly
We're gonna
talk
have
about
to do
Greubel.
part 4. We're going to be doing this ad nauseum.
We might take a break. So next week we may or may not be here. We'll keep you guys posted. The following week, maybe we'll take a break. We'll do something else, and we'll come back.
Come back to
this. This is a lot of fun, though. This
has been good.
This has been great.
This has been really good.
Once
Once again,
Let's go Greubel.
What do you want us to do?
Yeah, right.
We're here for you, so we are receptive.
Yeah.
Greubel Forsey, and we got lucky because this one walked in the door today.
This morning, yeah. Go ahead,
and
Robert.
boy, are its legs tired. So this is the Balancier
Convex S2.
S2. Sorry, we just got this in, so we're not like super keyed into it just yet. But this is not a tourbillon. The Balancier series is the watches that Greubel makes that don't have a tourbillon in it.
This is essentially their entry-level piece.
Yeah. You get a 30-degree incline on the balance wheel. I'm trying to show it to you. And not only that, but you can see, as I'm showing it to you, it looks like a Salvador Dali painting. But it's like you've got this crazy shape to the case, and you've got some crazy geometry to the crystal here.
Put it back on your wrist real quick, because this is a big watch. But
it fits like a glove.
Show it from the side.
It fits better than the OJ glove.
It's unbelievable. Jeez, well, famously, that one did not fit, Robert. So
exactly, that's what I'm saying. This fits better.
But really, this is a really big watch with a ton of presence.
I think it's 46 mil.
That you wouldn't expect to wear as well as it does, but it really hugs the wrist, and it
no lugs.
Sits super nicely.
Which is smart. Incredible. Like, I mean, to be the guy who sits down and designs this, to me, is really incredible.
Well, so
not much on the case back.
How many pieces does Greubel make a year? Like a couple hundred tops?
I don't even know. It can't be that many, because I mean the work that goes into
So it's interesting. We were
stuff.
before we started, the stream, we were talking that Greubel actually recently just let go its CEO, and the former CEO wanted to move the brand, not necessarily down market, but he wanted to offer more pieces that were, quote, affordable or more affordable, and
that's when they were like, this ain't working out,
and increase production, and it just never materialized, and he's now gone. So it's interesting to see kind of where the brand goes now. But kind of another funny anecdote that we were talking about as well. Years ago we met with
Stephen Forsey.
Stephen Forsey, yeah, members of the actual, Stephen Forsey, the name, one of the people with his name on the dial, and we were just talking about the watches. We were, asking, what do you guys see as, like, who do you see as your competition in the space? Is it Patek? Is it Richard Mille? Like, who are you gunning for? And like, without missing a beat, he was just like, yeah, we're not competing with any of them. We're competing with private jets, essentially, like yachts and PJs. Like, he was saying that people that are buying our pieces aren't necessarily saying, okay, I can buy this or I can buy this Patek. They're saying, I can buy this or I can buy that PJ. Like,
put a down payment on a G6 or something.
It's a totally different category, and it's one that I don't understand. I just like I don't get it. I don't know. Like, if it was me and I was given the opportunity to buy this, say price is no option, and I was just a platter with a bunch of these, with this watch on it, with a Royal Oak concept, with some whatever, RM you want to put on there, the new Lifestyle Chrono or something like that, I'm not going for the Greubel.
Go to that wrist cam again real quick.
And it's I don't know. It's just it just doesn't speak
There's
to
a price
me.
difference here.
And honestly,
this isn't a truly fair fight.
Maybe it doesn't speak to me because I'm not a billionaire. You know what I mean? But
which way are you folks going here?
Yeah.
Which way do you go? Because this is kind of interesting because we have what would be considered a quote-unquote basic Greubel Forsey, even though there's nothing basic about it.
It's still a $200K watch.
Right. And then we have a quote-unquote basic RM.
RM10,
which
rose
again,
gold.
there's nothing basic about it, but that's where it exists
Do you know off the
within
top of
their
your head,
catalog.
Rob, what do we have the RM10 listed at right now?
I don't.
Okay. The RM10 is going to be lower than the Greubel,
Yeah.
but still, it is a good comparison, I would say.
Which way are you folks going?
Yeah.
I'm so curious. Is anybody still out there? Are you strapping this guy on? I'll put each one on for a moment. I'm going to make this really simple because I want to tier it. But for me, Greubel Forsey, if I think about the GMT Earth, which is like their signature with a little globe on it.
That's an interesting one with
and
like
I think about
the globes on it, yeah.
Yeah, and like the bumps on the case and stuff.
129.9.
Okay,
Thank you, Craig.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is definitely cheaper than where that guy will be listed.
So it's funny. So I saw someone, let's see. So Boston Collector says RM10 all day. Then Wineset Wear says 59.70. And like, yeah, and it's interesting. You know, obviously it's a taste thing. You know,
that's a good point, actually.
Robert
this and
and I,
59.70 probably are ish, right?
But I 100% agree with you. I am going 59.70 all day, every day.
But if you have a 59.70 and you're like, hey, I need another 200K watch in my life, this thing would be an incredible foil.
So George Prone says begrudgingly the RM. Interesting. So Timelight Mind says Forsey over RM. I would like to know kind of why you think that way. I hear you.
I could tell you why.
I know.
Because like this is incredible. Don't get me wrong. I would love to own this. I would love to wear this.
I don't think this is the best apples to apples, but
this has a soul that's different than this. Like,
I see
the life force of this is different than this. And what I was going to say,
Robert, I don't think RM10 is the right comparison for
But I think it is in terms of where these watches exist within their individual catalogs.
Say like the RM002. Okay.
Right, but that then you have to compare that to a crazy Greubel quadruple tourbillon kind of thing, because you're looking at a Richard Mille tourbillon. You can't then say, okay, I'm going to compare that to the Convex S2. That's not fair. That's not fair.
I don't know what's fair
Yeah,
anymore.
that's not fair.
I don't know.
Then you got to do like a Technic tourbillon or something like that. So I look at this, I think about this, I think about the GMT tourbillon, I think about those Technic watches, I think about the handmade, and I put them in the Grail.
The handmade is different, I would say. That is very different. That is one watchmaker fabricating those parts.
Every part.
Finishing those pieces, putting them together. That is a very different thing.
Oh, interesting. Actually, Brendan said I would take a Greubel handmade over an RM, but not a catalog
Agreed.
Greubel, which
Okay,
is cool.
so Brendan, we're saying the exact same thing. I put the handmade in a totally different category, and I would absolutely, the handmade, Grail status, 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
You know, a catalog Greubel per se.
Catalog Greubel.
I know, it's hilarious.
So, yeah, come on.
A cut rate Greubel.
And then Boston Collector, the new GF with the 40 mil and the carbon is much better size, but still misses on design. We haven't seen one yet.
We haven't,
I'd love to see one of those. I wonder how it works in 40, because there's so much going on and there's such intricacy there. I feel like if you go 40, it might lose something.
But so why, I just want to know, we have like 2 minutes left here. Why, beyond the price of this piece, this specific piece, why are you saying that this is a Grail for you? I just want to know. I'm not arguing with you. I just want to know.
You look at this, and you look at the construction and the layout, and everything about this watch to me is interesting, is different. And if you were to talk to Stephen Forsey or something like that, you would find out that everything on here is purpose built, and they did this with good reason and forethought and intention. And to me, that is very cool. They're not like, oh yeah, you know, we put a date at 4:30 because we had to fit the date somewhere. You know, it's like there's none of that kind of thing here. This to me is a different level of watchmaking. This is not a mortal watch, and this excites me.
Robert is excited.
There you go. That's my argument.
You know what?
Go ahead, counselor.
No. After all that, I was going to agree with you anyways. I think we'd be crazy to put it anywhere other than Grail. It's not my top choice. It's not your top choice. But I think it absolutely deserves to be in the Grail category because, like you said, it's not mortal watchmaking. It's something very unique, very special. very considered. And again, this is probably not the best example of Greubel. You know, again, like I'm saying that a $200,000 watch is not the best example of a brand, but you know, it's the brand, the ethos, what they do, how they go about it, how they do it is very special.
Yeah.
It deserves to be in.
And
the,
I don't think we're
going to
see them introduce. They're not going to come out with like a $50K watch.
No.
They're not going to do it. And you've got to respect that they're going to be like, we only make the supercar version of watches.
Right.
And there's not going to be a mortal version of that, you know, because that's not who we are.
Okay, so next
even though they
next
could
round,
make bank.
Next round when we do this, we're going to start with Richard Mille so that I can throw all of the arguments that he just made for Greubel Forsey right back in his face when he tells me that they are not a grail. Stick around or tune in next time or whenever we come back for round 4 because, man, we didn't talk about a bunch of brands again. This is killing me. We didn't hit Gronefeld. We didn't hit Ulysse,
Romain
Breitling,
Gaultier,
Laurent Ferrier, Romain Gaultier. We have so many good watches on the table that we didn't get to. But again, you guys, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for interacting, letting us know what your thoughts are.
This was a fun one.
If you missed it or whatever, hop into the comments again. Tell us what you think. I'm reading comments right now.
I don't think Greubel is unwearable. I think you could wear a Greubel because people would be like, that's a wild watch. Okay. What is that?
Production
they
team,
don't know what it is.
Black. Cut his mic. Cut his mic. No, but anyways, thank you so much, you guys. We'll be back possibly next week, maybe the following. I don't know. We got some stuff going on. We'll keep you guys posted. Thanks again. We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you all.